If only I had a bearded stroke to ponder upon it. Oh! You really scared me on this one. Ha! I didn't see you there. Welcome to my room. As you can see, I'm in bed, covering up my nipples as I partake in my night read. Welcome to Tale Time with Barrett German. I'm JBier, and this is Tale Time. Today we're going to talk about meditations. Marcus Aurelius. Now, it was named Meditations for no reason. It's not really meditations. And Marcus Aurelius is Emperor Marcus Aurelius Antoninus, who was the last of the 5 emperors of Pax Romana, which is a period of Rome, ancient Rome, antiquity, when there was peace in Rome, or relative peace. They were still fighting Germania and stuff like that. You'd have to read some history. But he was considered a great Stoic philosopher and philosophical emperor in himself. He wrote this whole thing are his personal journal entries that he wrote actually for himself, which later got turned into a book, a compilation that others took and just started studying it for themselves, and it's phenomenal. I'm almost done with it, but I've been reading it over a slow period of time, sometimes going back and quoting it and things and writings that I've been doing myself. But this is something I want to recommend to people, especially people who wish to learn more about the world, about inner thoughts, maybe thoughts of antiquity, like this Greco-Roman or Hellenistic philosophy, things from Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Seneca, Marcus Aurelius. You know, he's just one of the many of that era. But here I'll read a few little samples. There's no real flow to it. It's just random almost. But the first chapter, or book 1, if you will, is more of his praise to people who influenced him in his life, from his grandfather to his foster father, who was the emperor that he succeeded. And that emperor was Antoninus Pius, famous for the Antonine Wall. That was farther north, that goes from the Firth of Clyde to the Firth of Forth in Scotland, and it's very run down. It's not like Hadrian's Wall. And Hadrian's mentioned it here too, because he came before. And so Trajan. Anyway, I'll read a few sections, or little lines here, so I'll start with. First, he starts with his grandfather, Varus. All he says is a detail, character and self-control. These are things that he learned from them. Something that it's as we today perceive, like when we think of our parents or our grandparents, like like the most basic things we took from them that help us live our lives. My father, apart from my own memories and his reputation, he says integrity and manliness. For his mother, says her reverence for the divine, her generosity, her inability not only to do wrong, but even to conceive of doing it in the simple way she lived, not in the least like the rich. Very nice. I'll scroll in a little bit and see if I can find this one that I think is just wonderful. Here it is. Book 3, line 10. Forget everything else. Keep hold of this alone, and remember it. Each of us lives only now, this brief instant. The rest has been lived already, or is impossible to see. The span we have is small as the corner of the earth in which we live it, small as even the greatest renown, passed from mouth to mouth by short-lived stick figures, ignorant alike of themselves and those long dead. I think it's great. There's a few themes that pass through here. It's a little bit somber, a little bit dark, but if you can get through that and just understand his perspective of life, you'll kind of appreciate it better, I think. Especially if you're into Stoicism, which is a wonderful form. The Christian Bible is influenced by Stoicism. Most philosophy is influenced by Stoicism in some manner or respect. So I'll read the line where I'm at right now, which is Book 7, line 53. Wherever something can be done as the logos. Oh, before I go on, logos, if you're unfamiliar with Hellenistic society or Greek philosophy, logos is very much like nature or God, in the sense that it's separate from the Greek gods as a pantheon. Logos is nature, is the universe, is what we now refer to as creative design, or beyond, God. So it's essentially perpetual creation, and that we are all a part of it, and we cannot live without it, and those who do not understand it live ignorantly. So, I mean, that's just how it's perceived in Stoicism and beyond. And so, my wife's sleepy time alarm just went off, if you heard it. Anyway, line 53. Whenever something can be done as the logos, shared by gods and men, dictates, there all is in order. I said that slow. There all is in order. Where there is profit, because our effort is productive, because it advances in step with our nature, there we have nothing to fear. It kind of gets jumbly sometimes, but you get it when you're reading it. It makes more sense. Or like right here, he does it like he talks about to watch. This is line 47. So he says, to watch the courses of the stars as if you revolved with them, to keep constantly in mind how the elements alter into one another. Thoughts like this wash off the mud of life below. Strangely poetic. He talks about a lot of stuff like that. Refers older previous philosophers, and talks a lot about coping, understanding that we will all die eventually, everything, and how the earth and the universe recycles everything that it creates. It's just a constant cycle, and it's part of Logos design. Anyway, if you read the introduction, if you get this book and you read the introduction, the whole thing makes sense, especially if you're familiar with philosophy. So, again, Meditations, Marcus Aurelius, highly recommend it, if my recommendation is worth anything. So, till next time, this is Tale Time with JBier. You have a wonderful night.